not wanting to have anything to do with them. That's hard if we're really close to them and love them because we see what's happening and we don't want to be like everybody else. We don't want to abandon them and not be there for them and support them. So we stay involved with them in their life. Then we see other things beginning to happen. Maybe there's some health problems or financial problems.
Cybersecurity is often seen as this very sort of abstract concept, right? We hear about Russia, we hear about elections and hacking and all this kind of stuff, but it's hard to hear about Russia, we hear about elections and hacking and all this kind of stuff, but it's hard to understand sometimes on an individual level how this affects us.
Expanding the possibilities, and I guess that brings me to the question of, you began with talking about the way in which the club, both the club and the academy, have their sort of unspoken rules. You can't use a 4-4 kick, or you'll be looked down on in the classroom, and it may be in the club, this idea of like, the concept ruling the club is going to be like pleasure principle. You must dance, you must have fun, you must be kind of, and so I guess it's how do you think about navigating those different spaces? Creating a work that draws on multiple histories, multiple performing contexts, how do you negotiate that in terms of where you're choosing to play or how you might take a sort of club or academic setup? And
African Americans still fare worse across a range of measures, whether we're talking about income, wages, wealth, mobility, education, access to healthcare, life expectancy, or infant mortality. I noted earlier that 35% of all Americans will experience poverty over a 4-year period.
Participants in the Macy's conferences were concerned with how the mind worked, with ideas about intelligence and learning, and about the role of technology in our future. Sadly, the conversations that started with the Macy's conference are often forgotten when the talk is about AI. But for me, there's something really important to reclaim here about the idea of a system that has to accommodate culture, technology, and the environment.
Evening. However, under rules set by the Archdiocese of New Orleans, a licensed tour guide must accompany all visitors to St. Louis Cemetery number 1. And at number 1
to the world. And at process learning, how do we accumulate wisdom? How do we build complex systems? How do I learn over the course of a career? How do I succeed in building a great team? That kind of iterative learning, focusing on the process variables that correlate with success, I think will be increasingly the locus of learning.
Okay. And the premise is what would happen if we took like the hands-on science museum, like the Exploratorium, here in San Francisco, right, with all the sort of kinetic exhibits that kids get to monkey with and learn about, bigger forces, and apply it to basically kinetics, our bodies, and sort of this notion of that as we train our bodies and brains to work really well together, then our waking selves, right, get to experience more accurate information processing, greater resourcefulness and emotional resilience, and generally amplified pattern recognition, right, perspective holding, and therefore sort of more increasingly sophisticated and accurate decision making.
The Henry David Thoreau quote goes, "When you achieve your dreams, it's not so much what you get as who you have become in achieving them." And yeah, I stand before you now. In the 3 months since that swim ended, I've sat down with Oprah, and I've been in President Obama's Oval Office. I've been invited to speak in front of esteemed groups such as yourselves. I've signed a wonderful major book contract. All of that's great, and I don't denigrate it. I'm proud of it all, but the truth is, I'm walking around tall because I am that bold, fearless person. And I will be every day until it's time for these days to be done.
And lift us up to a broader horizon where we're looking at other forms of waste that could be lessened from manufacturing and industrial sources. Municipal waste, what we think of when we talk about garbage, accounts for 3% of the nation's waste stream. It's a remarkable statistic. So, in the flow of your days, in the flow of your lives, next time you see someone whose job is to clean up after you, take a moment to acknowledge them. Take a moment to say thank you.
The question that we have today is there is so much knowledge. What does it mean when we say that the responsibility of institutions of higher education is to provide knowledge? There is an increasing awareness that what's more important is being able to acquire knowledge, to translate that knowledge then into daily life.
I should also mention that remote testing and programming are subject to state regulation. So even though these features do exist, you need to check with your hearing care professional to determine if they are able to offer these remote services in your state. Times are changing, and technology continues to adapt to the evolving needs of individuals with hearing loss. So if you're looking for more convenience when it comes to testing and treating your hearing loss, the technology already exists. You just have to make sure that you have the hearing aids that can do it. That's it for
microcosm in its ideal of what we would like society to be like. People have adequate food, they have adequate housing, and they have a chance to develop their capacities and contribute to the meaningful decisions and discourse of their lives, right? So that's the ideal. And academic freedom is the essence of that, right?
At number 10 is Calgary Zoo. The Calgary Zoo is located in Bridgeland, Calgary, just east of downtown and adjacent to the East Village neighborhood. The zoo is a great place to connect with nature and be inspired by the natural world's most fascinating creatures. Here, visitors can get up close to nearly 1,500 different animals, representing 5 continents. There are also botanical gardens, a butterfly conservatory, and a center for conservation and research.
What if a rising tide really does lift all ships? Here's the deal. Before we talk about anything else, you need to adjust your thinking. You need to really drop that lack and scarcity mentality like it's hot, because it's not hot. There is plenty of business and success to go around for all. I want to share a quote with you from Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love, one of my favorite books, and it's a tweetable. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. Here's the bottom line. Your success can never hurt anyone around you. All it can do is help and inspire others. The truth is, the more successful you are, the better you reflect on your colleague, agent, teacher, friend. And honestly, the best way to show her some support is to thank her for helping you get where you are today. Remember, either your colleague, agent, teacher, friend is going to be wildly happy for your success, or she's going to be bitter and jealous. Either way, you'll likely inspire her to up her game. But remember, however she reacts is completely her choice.
I'm standing in the capital of the United States of America, and in this city you'll find many monuments and statues and memorials and museums and many, many administrative offices where politicians administrate and govern the country. And speaking of governing, on today's program, we'll see what happens when followers of Jesus Christ let the principles of his kingdom govern their lives and make a difference in their communities.
So as adults, when we actually are present and actually listen to kids and don't get in their way with all of our adult ideas, not all the time, when a child grows up with that level of support, that level of appreciation, that level of acknowledgement, that child actually becomes an adult who is well-adjusted, confident, centered, more peaceful. So listening to kids is one of the most important things that any of us can do to create a stronger, more powerful future for this entire planet. But there's one more reason why listening to kids is a pretty good idea. Because you've got that part of you still very active. There's that kid inside of you that wants to come out and play. And when you allow that playfulness to come out, when you allow that child that's in you to have a little bit more freedom in this world, don't be surprised when life takes on a whole new shine.
Individuals and innovative organizations learn how to inquire, they learn how to actively listen. But guess what? They also learn how to advocate for their point of view. They understand that innovation rarely happens unless you have both diversity and conflict. Creative agility is about being able to test and refine that portfolio of ideas through quick pursuit, reflection, and adjustment. It's about discovery-driven learning, where you act as opposed to plan your way to the future.
Technical theater classes, either way, are going to give you the basis for how to work in a group. Because in theater, you have the directors, and you have the designers, and then you have their keys that help build all the stuff. So you have to understand how to work in a team. and how decisions you make can affect the rest of the members of the team.
Now, when we're
And so I began to wonder, what's the overall impact of all of this? If we were to sum together the aggregate of all of this entrepreneurial activity that Stanford is producing through students, through alumni who have passed through Stanford and been exposed to the entrepreneurial environment or been exposed to some new technology, through faculty, what would the aggregate results of that be? And so I set out to do a survey of all Stanford alumni, faculty, and staff. And so this was a large undertaking, obviously. We sent the survey out to 143,000 Stanford alumni.
It all started on February the 10th, 1355, when a group of students went into town for a drink. They stopped at the Swindlestock Tavern, but an argument soon erupted between two of the students and the pub landlord over the quality of the wine. More people joined the quarrel on both sides, and before long, a brawl broke out. Soon afterwards, someone rang the bells of the nearby church to summon more people, while on the other side, a student also rang the university church bell for 8. The fight now evolved into a full-blown riot. Up to 2,000 people arrived from nearby villages, many of them armed. The students and faculty were outmatched in every way. For 3 days, the rioters marched to all the inns and halls where the students lived and pillaged them all, often killing whoever they encountered. When the slaughter ended, an estimated 30 locals and 63 students lay dead. So I really hope you found